All right, so ready to dive into a story that might just make you, make you appreciate how much society has actually changed.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about Caroline Norton,
Okay.
a woman who, in the middle of 19th century England, was a successful author but had absolutely no legal rights just because she was married.
Wow.
Think about that for a minute. All your hard work, your earnings, everything legally belonged to your husband.
Yeah, it's almost unfathomable to us now, isn't it?
It really is.
And to add to that, she was born into a family known for, I guess you could say, both its artistic brilliance and its fair share of scandals.
Oh.
Her grandfather was Richard Brinsley Sheridan,
Go.
the playwright,
Oh, wow.
behind the School for Scandal. So talk about foreshadowing, right?
And irony is not lost on me.
Yeah.
And this was also a time when women authors were pretty prominent.
Oh, for sure.
Jane Austen, Mary Shelley, the Bronte sisters.
Right.
They were all writing and publishing.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, married women were essentially invisible in the eyes of the law.
Precisely. Caroline was a celebrated author.
Yeah.
But all the money she earned went straight to her husband, George Norton, who, as we'll discover, was not exactly a model husband.
Oh, boy.
So this lack of legal standing really sets the stage for understanding the struggles that she faced.
Right.
But before we get to all the drama, let's paint a picture of who Caroline was.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
What was she like as a person?
Well, by all accounts, she was a pretty captivating figure.
Okay.
Imagine someone beautiful, witty, intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
and just a popular figure in London society.
Oh, wow.
She even hosted salons where some of the brightest minds of the time would gather.
She sounds like quite the character.
Yeah.
But this vibrant woman was trapped in an abusive marriage.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
George Norton was both physically and emotionally abusive, and to make matters worse, he eventually took custody of their 3 sons, using the very laws that denied Caroline any legal rights.
That must have been utterly devastating.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to even imagine the pain of being separated from your children with no legal recourse.
Absolutely, and it's here where the story takes kind of a dramatic turn.
Okay.
George Norton, driven by spite, accused the Prime Minister, Lord Melbourne, of having an affair with Caroline.
Hold on. Did you say the Prime Minister?
I did.
Talk about a scandal.
Oh, it was a huge scandal.
Now.
George sued Melbourne for what was called criminal conversation,
Okay.
which was essentially the legal term for adultery back then.
Gotcha.
But here's where the absurdity of the legal system comes in.
Okay.
Only the man could be sued for this.
Oh, wow.
Caroline, as a married woman, had no legal standing.
So she was treated as an object rather than a participant in this whole ordeal.
Exactly. It really highlights how devalued women were in the eyes of the law.
Yeah.
This trial, which became known as the Crimcon trial, captivated the entire nation.
I can only imagine the headlines.
Right.
So what happened was Lord Melbourne found guilty.
The trial itself was actually pretty anticlimactic.
Oh.
The evidence was mostly circumstantial, with servants testifying about Caroline and Melbourne spending time together,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no concrete proof.
So a lot of smoke, but no fire.
Precisely. The jury acquitted Lord Melbourne after deliberating for a mere few minutes.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah,
So Melbourne escaped unscathed?
he did.
But what about Caroline? What happened to her after all of this?
Well, while she was technically cleared of any wrongdoing, her reputation was tarnished.
Oh.
And although she might have received some public sympathy, she was still legally bound to George.
And I'm guessing he wasn't about to let it all go.
Unfortunately, you're right.
Yeah.
This trial, although a legal victory for Melbourne, had devastating consequences for Caroline.
Oh, right.
It led to a significant cooling in their relationship.
Yeah.
Melbourne, wanting to distance himself from the scandal, withdrew from her life.
So she lost her children, endured public humiliation, and then lost the support of someone who seemed to offer her some comfort.
It was a truly tragic series of events.
Yeah.
But this is where Caroline's incredible strength and resilience come into play. Instead of succumbing to despair, she channeled her anger and grief into something remarkable.
I'm already sensing this is a turning point in her story. What did she do?
Caroline did something that was almost unthinkable for a woman in her position at that time.
Okay.
She fought back.
Wow.
And not just for herself, but for all married women in England.
How did she go about doing that?
Well, she had some potent tools at her disposal.
Okay.
Her intellect, her writing skills, and her unwavering determination.
Yeah.
She began by immersing herself in the study of law.
Interesting.
She used her husband's own law books to learn about the very system that oppressed her.
That's pretty brilliant, turning his own tools against him.
Indeed. And she didn't stop there.
Okay.
She began writing pamphlets and letters eloquently arguing for changes to the law.
Mm-hmm.
Caroline became a vocal advocate for the rights of married women,
Right.
particularly their right to have custody of their children.
This is incredibly inspiring. She went from being a victim of the system to challenging it head on. Did her efforts have any tangible impact?
Her work, along with the efforts of other activists, led to the passage of the Infant Custody Bill of 1839.
That sounds like a major victory. Tell me more about this bill and what it meant for women.
This bill was groundbreaking because it was the first legal recognition of married women in English history.
Wow.
It granted mothers the right to petition for custody of their children up to the age of 7.
You might seem like a small step, but it was a significant one nonetheless.
Absolutely. It was a victory not just for Caroline, but for countless women who had been denied basic rights for centuries.
I can only imagine how rewarding that must have felt knowing her struggle had contributed to such a meaningful change. But did this reunite her with her sons?
Sadly, it did not. The law applied to England, Ireland, and Wales, but not to Scotland. And guess where George Norton had taken their children?
Don't tell me he took them to Scotland.
He did. This meant Caroline was still unable to gain custody. It's a reminder that even when progress is made, the fight for justice can be incredibly long and challenging.
It's heartbreaking that after all she accomplished, she was still separated from her sons. It just seems so unfair.
Life can be terribly unfair, and unfortunately for Caroline, another tragedy was on the horizon. Her youngest son, Willie, died in a riding accident in 1842.
Oh, that's just devastating. He was just a child.
He was only 9 years old. It was an unimaginable loss.
Yeah.
And there were reports that Willie had called out for his mother as he lay dying.
Oh.
Caroline rushed to his side but couldn't reach him in time.
It's difficult to even comprehend the pain she must have gone through.
It truly highlights the cruelty and injustice of that time.
Right.
But even in the face of such immense sorrow, Caroline continued to fight for what she believed in.
That's incredible. She was truly an extraordinary woman.
Yeah.
What did she focus on after Willie's death?
Well, she continued to champion social justice causes.
Okay.
She wrote about the plight of the poor and spoke out against slavery.
Mm-hmm.
While she never fully regained custody of her surviving sons, she was eventually granted more regular access to them.
It's a small consolation, but at least she could maintain some semblance of a relationship with them.
Yes. And finally, after years of enduring a miserable marriage, she was granted a separation from George Norton in 1875.
It was long overdue.
Absolutely. And just 3 months after gaining her freedom, she remarried.
Wow.
This time to a man she truly loved, Sir William Sterling Maxwell.
It sounds like a beautiful ending to such a difficult chapter in her life.
It really does. However, sadly, she died just 3 months after her marriage.
Oh, but her legacy lived on.
And what a legacy it was.
Right.
She paved the way for so many women to have the rights we often take for granted today. It's amazing to think that one woman, through her personal struggles, could spark such significant change.
It truly is inspiring, but there's a fascinating detail that speaks to the lasting impact of Caroline's story. Years later, when the artist Daniel Maclise was commissioned to paint a fresco depicting the concept of justice for the House of Lords, guess who he chose as his model?
Don't tell me Caroline Norton.
You got it.
That's incredible. She's immortalized in the very halls of power that once denied her basic rights.
It's a powerful symbol of her enduring impact.
And if you look closely at the fresco, you'll notice something interesting about her pose.
Oh.
She's standing with one hip slightly cocked, almost as if in defiance.
I love that. Even in this grand artistic representation, there's this subtle hint of rebellion.
It is?
It's as if she's saying, I may have been forced to play by your rules in life, but in this image, I'm on my own terms.
It's a fitting tribute to a woman who refused to be silenced.
Caroline Norton's story is a testament to the power of one voice to challenge the status quo. It's a reminder that even when faced with overwhelming obstacles, individuals can make a difference. And it's a call to action for all of us to continue the fight for equality and justice wherever we see injustice in the world.
Well said. Caroline's story is a powerful reminder that progress is rarely linear and the fight for justice is ongoing.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll pause here for now, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll delve deeper into the aftermath of the Crimcon trial and explore how Caroline's activism continued to shape the legal landscape for women.
So we left off with Caroline facing that harsh reality that the infant custody bill, while a significant victory, didn't actually bring her children back.
Right.
It's a truly bittersweet moment in her story.
Yeah, it's almost like she climbed this huge mountain,
Yeah.
only to find another even higher peak on the other side.
Right.
But we know Caroline wasn't one to give up easily.
No.
So what did she do with this renewed sense of purpose?
Well, she kept using her writing as a way to fight back. You know,
Okay.
she poured her experiences, her anger, her frustration into her work,
Mm.
published poems, plays, novels,
Right.
often weaving in these themes of social justice and the struggles of women.
So she was using her platform to raise awareness about these issues
Yes.
and give a voice to those who are often silenced.
Exactly. She
Yeah.
wasn't just telling her own story, she was giving a voice to countless other women who were suffering in silence.
All right.
It was a daring move in a time when women were expected to be seen and not heard.
It speaks volumes about her courage
Yeah,
and her understanding of the power of words.
for sure.
But was she able to affect change beyond her writing?
Mm-hmm.
Did she continue her fight for legal reform?
Absolutely. She never stopped fighting for justice.
Okay.
She continued to lobby for changes to the law
Right.
and worked tirelessly to support other women facing similar challenges.
Wow.
She almost became like a one-woman legal aid society,
Really?
using her knowledge of the law, her writing, her social connections
Wow.
to help women navigate a system that was often stacked against them.
It's amazing how she turned her personal tragedy into a force for good, helping others who were going through similar ordeals.
Yeah.
But amidst all these legal battles and activism, I'm curious about her personal life. Did she ever find happiness after everything she endured?
Well, after years of living in a loveless and abusive marriage, she was finally granted a legal separation from George Norton in 1875.
Sounds like a huge weight was lifted off her shoulders.
It was. And just 3 months after gaining her freedom, she married Sir William Sterling Maxwell.
Oh, wow.
And it seems to have been a loving and supportive relationship.
So amidst all the hardship, she was able to find love and companionship. It's a heartwarming turn of events.
It really is. It shows her incredible resilience and her belief in the possibility of finding happiness, even after such profound heartbreak.
But I imagine even with newfound happiness, the injustices she witnessed and experienced never left her mind.
You're right. She continued to advocate for social justice causes throughout her life.
Right.
She wrote about poverty, spoke out against slavery. She truly was a champion for the marginalized and oppressed.
It's inspiring how she used her voice to amplify the voices of those who were often ignored.
Yeah,
But sadly, her newfound happiness was short-lived.
it is.
She died just 3 months after marrying Sir William.
It is a tragic twist of fate. But even though her life was cut short, her legacy continued. The legal reforms she fought for continued to evolve, and her writing inspired generations of women to fight for their rights.
It underscores the idea that progress is often a slow and winding road. It takes the courage and determination of individuals like Caroline Norton to push boundaries and fight for a more just world.
And it's a reminder that even small victories can have a ripple effect, creating lasting change that extends far beyond the immediate impact.
So what are the key takeaways from Caroline's extraordinary life?
Yeah.
What lessons can we apply to our own lives and our own efforts to make a difference in the world?
I think one of the most important lessons is the power of speaking truth to power. Caroline never let her voice be silenced, even when facing seemingly insurmountable odds.
Yeah.
She used her writing, her intellect, her social connections
Okay.
to challenge injustice and demand change.
She didn't wait for permission or approval.
Nope.
She saw a problem, she learned about it, and she took action.
Exactly. She understood that silence often equals complicity and that even small acts of resistance can make a difference.
Her story also highlights the importance of perseverance.
Yes.
You know, she faced so many setbacks, so much heartache, but she never gave up. She kept fighting, even when the battle seemed hopeless.
Her resilience is truly inspiring, and it's a reminder that the fight for justice is often a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
It requires patience, dedication, and a willingness to keep going, even when the odds are stacked against you.
And it's also important to remember that we don't have to be famous authors or politicians to make a difference.
No.
Caroline's story shows that each of us has the power to affect change
Mm-hmm.
in our own communities, in our own circles of influence.
Absolutely. Whether it's speaking out against injustice, volunteering our time for a cause we believe in, or simply having difficult conversations with friends and family members, we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable world.
So what would you say is Caroline Norton's most enduring legacy?
Well, I think it's multifaceted.
Okay.
She's remembered for her contributions to legal reform, particularly her role in securing the rights of mothers, but she's also remembered for her powerful writing, her unwavering advocacy for social justice, and her indomitable spirit.
And she's a reminder that history is often made by ordinary people who choose to stand up for what they believe in.
Precisely. And as we navigate the complexities of our own time, it's crucial to remember the lessons of those who came before us, those who fought for a better future, even when it seemed impossible.
Caroline Norton's story is a testament to the power of one voice to challenge the status quo, to inspire change, and to leave a lasting mark on the world. It's a story that resonates even today, reminding us that the fight for equality and justice is a continuous journey.
And as we move to the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore a fascinating detail that highlights just how deeply Caroline's story is woven into the fabric of history itself.
So you mentioned a fascinating detail
I did.
that connects Caroline's story directly to history.
Right.
What did you mean by that?
Well, it has to do with that fresco we discussed earlier, the one depicting justice in the House of Lords,
Right.
where Caroline served as the model.
Right, the one where she's standing with her hips slightly cocked.
Yeah.
I love that detail. It felt like a subtle yet powerful statement.
It's more than just a detail.
Oh,
Some historians believe that the pose was actually a deliberate choice
okay.
by the artist, Daniel Maclise,
Okay.
to subtly convey Caroline's rebellious spirit
Interesting.
and her fight for equality.
Wow. So even in this image meant to represent justice,
Right.
there's this hidden message about the ongoing struggle for women's rights.
Exactly. It's like a secret nod
Yeah.
to those who know Caroline's story and those who are still fighting for the same ideals that she championed.
It's a reminder that progress isn't always about grand gestures.
Right.
Sometimes it's about pushing back against the norms in subtle yet meaningful ways.
Caroline's story really highlights that point. Despite facing unimaginable obstacles, she never stopped fighting for what she believed in. She used her voice, her intellect, and her determination
Right.
to challenge the status quo
Yeah.
and pave the way for a more just and equitable world.
It's a powerful reminder that even one person can make a difference.
Absolutely. Her story inspires us to continue the fight for equality and justice wherever we see injustice in the world.
It's incredible how her fight, sparked by personal tragedy, ultimately led to lasting legal and societal change.
Yeah.
What a legacy.
Her story is a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of using your voice, and the impact one person can have on the world.
Right.
And as we navigate the complexities of our own time, it's crucial to remember those who came before us,
Yeah.
those who fought for a better future, even when it seemed impossible.
Caroline Norton's story certainly reminds us that the fight for equality and justice is an ongoing journey.
It is.
It's up to each of us to carry the torch forward.
Well said. Keep questioning, keep challenging, and keep fighting for a better world.